What's happening, people? Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Top, where I am reviewing the Warriors versus Dolphins that took place yesterday at Suncorp Stadium. Warriors going down 34-32. Another really tight loss, and far out. Just the storyline, the plot, the headline that will just be continuous throughout this season is just cannot seem to ice the big moments. Every big opportunity that we've had this year, we've failed, and we're going to break that down and look at it. But that seems to be the headline. When we're nearly over the line about to score, something bad happens, or when we're about to win, we can't get the job done. So that will be a big part of what the storyline will be this year. But at the same time, there's some massive underlying issues that I want to be talking about the team and about how I think we're going this year. And everyone's got their own opinion of what the big root of the cause of the problems are. But yeah, we'll get into that. Anyway, before we start, hit that like and subscribe, please, people. We always appreciate that here at Wires Up TV. Little side note, I won't be on show tonight with my bro Josh. I'll be on the road soon, actually. Go to a family event, and so I will be out for the next 2 days, but Ash will be on top tomorrow night for All You Can Eat Warriors, so jump on then for the live stream, guys. But yeah, unfortunately I cannot be on stream this evening or tomorrow night. But yeah, let's talk about this game here. A game that beforehand, I suppose technically, for those that are still hopeful or were hopeful that we had a chance to make the 8, there was a technical that we could potentially make the 8. You know, I knew kind of weeks ago that I felt as though that was over, especially after the Eagles game. I felt, oh no, that chance that has passed us. But I suppose you could say that we had a chance to come in, and either way, it was an opportunity for us to get a win on the board, which we haven't had in the last couple of weeks. So I thought, we started off, I suppose, pretty poor. We leaked in 2 tries, one off I think it was CNK. Just a little detail. He just doesn't quite have the legs this year. Feels like doesn't quite have the energy at times to just do some of the simple things that he was very good at last year in terms of defense. I mean, the ball did roll away from him. He kind of overshot it, and then the ball kind of slowly spun back the other way. But in those situations, you want your fullback to deal with those situations, and he didn't. And then the other one they scored, where it was a kick, crossfield bomb, and then it was a tap back by CNK, and then defense just didn't turn up. Probably people out of position. There wasn't enough urgency, and before you know it, Herbie Farnworth and the speed they have, that speed was on fire yesterday for the Dolphins, and it just absolutely punished us. And before you know, you're 12-0 down. And then we got into a bit of our game. Tamai, nice crossfield kick for Kossi, and Kossi charged through and scored that one. And then I think we went 18-6 or 20-6. I think they got a penalty, and they got another try. And I suppose going into halftime, it didn't look very good. Now, I just want to talk about it now, while it's at the top of my brain, is the attack. And I don't think, I think this is kind of a bigger symptom of what is happening at the club. And again, I'm calling for a shift in how we approach the game, how we play the game a bit. You saw, for example, we had a ton of possession, and it's been the symptom of the team this whole year. It doesn't matter which halves partner you have. Could be Sean, it could be Tamai, but they have a lot of possession, but they cannot seem to put points on the board per possession. So there was a stat, I think we had 38 tackles to their 11 by close to halftime in each other's opposition. So we had about 38 tackles in their 50 as opposed to their 11 and our 50, and the scoreline I think was 20-6 at the time. So that speaks volumes as to what's kind of happening. We're getting a ton of opportunity, a ton of ball, but we, especially in the start of the games at least, we cannot seem to convert those points that position into points. And I'm imagining if per position and average points, we would probably be one of the lowest in the comp to convert points, possession into points. I think it's a little bit to do with our system. I mean, I'm personally calling for a shift to play the halves more directly off the ruck to Egan. I notice our halves in particular, they are out the back of shape a lot of time, which can be readable. As you can see, a lot of times we do get jammed. We do get pressures from the opposite halves or from and in this current system, I think we're just not able to execute either as we did last year, or players have dropped off in terms of the execution, the detail, or it's just a system that isn't quite working and we might need to adjust. And what I mean by that is the ball playing lock is usually Walker, who's always that kind of first option. Then you have your halves out the back. I'm calling for maybe having the halves one off the ruck, let them kind of direct play a bit better. Not always have a ball playing lock, as then that puts your halves in out the back situation, and then the opposition can usually jam that. I'm saying put the halves at first receiver at times, give them options off of that, just to mix up the play. I just feel that a lot of the time when we get into a goal line attack, it's very much get tackled, and then the next option is always Walker and a Tamaida or CHT out the back. And now that can be quite readable from defenses, and they can kind of suss that out. Okay, as long as we, always have someone that's going to shoot for the out the back on the half, we can shut down most of their attack, because it is such a deep. We talked about that deep V. If you can shut it down at the head before it gets to the backs, that's a better defensive strategy than it is to sit back and wait. So I think teams have done well with it. All I'm asking for is we need to maybe play a little bit more at the line, and have different options based off of that. Now that might happen with Sam Metcalf, who I think would be great in that type of system, getting on the ball and engaging the line himself as a half. But I think that might be a symptom, or could be a symptom of many things, but maybe one thing as to why we're not converting this position into points. So yeah, when you look at a scoreline, 20-6, and you've had 38 tackles to their 11 in their half, it speaks volumes. Now the other part of it is the defense, that they've only had 11 tackles in your half and they've got 20 points. Like, that's mathematically just way too high. So their points per position is on the other spectrum. So defensively, we are leaking almost a try per attacking set on our goal line. And it wouldn't be far off. And that's been a symptom from the get-go this season, as we haven't been able to defend much at all for consistent long periods of time. And that is a big thing that is kind of in the background. Although we may have scored a lot of points in this game, in the background you're still leaking 30 to 40, 34 points, which isn't a thing for success. So we're getting targeted, early in sets, long range. I mean, there was always the threat of the Dolphins' speed men, and I think they destroyed us today. Kossi and Leatoa got caught out a bit. The wingers in particular, I thought they didn't jam correctly. If you are going to jam, hit the man. Do not play for the intercept or the pass. Play the man first. If he gets the pass away, the center should be able to come back and cover behind you. So Kossi, for me, when Averillo made the break, I think it was, he played for the pass, or he overshot his angle, which allowed Averillo to get on the outside of Leatoa, and Averillo is just pure faster than Leatoa. So and that led to that try. The other side, Roger, I think he got caught in a bit of a trap with Katoa playing at the line, and then it was short. I think Nikarima played at the line, double pump. Dallin plays for the intercept or the pass. It leaves RTS isolated. RTS sits on Nikarima a little bit too long, and Farnworth goes through untouched. So it's these little things that details on the edges, Your comms need to be perfect, and you have to deal with the situations perfectly. But again, we're just lacking that detail of execution on either side at times. And then the last try where Kafusi went in, just a miscommunication or the lack of detail from Barnett and Capewell in that situation, leaking that try. Long range tries again, easy line breaks and easy finishing for those teams. So but that's been the whole season, and it comes back to we're not able to score points off of a multitude position. Other teams are able to score off less position than us and easier. So I'll give a quick example of a team like the Bulldogs, who I think we're more trying to be like than, say, the Panthers are. They're scoring at a higher clip at the moment, but I think defensively they are able to keep teams to probably a low points per possession score, which is the opposite of what we are. So it's no wonder they're doing so well defensively and we're not. So, even if we did struggle to score those points, we'd probably find ourselves in more low-scoring games if we were able to defend those points, and not let them score. It's just that it's just polar opposites at the moment, and we're seeing what we're seeing. So it comes back to, yes, we need to address defense, as it always has been, and make some adjustments attacking-wise to create more opportunities to score. Because what could have happened yesterday with that possession that we had, we could have been up maybe 14-6 or 14-12, and there's less scoreboard pressure on us to go into attack mode. And then that maybe changes how the Dolphins play, and maybe they play a bit more risky, which gives us opportunities to counterattack. But instead, it seems like we're just chasing the game yesterday. And I thought we did really well. I thought the tries that we put on were great. I thought Tamaiti was awesome. He put on, I suppose, 4 try assists from kicks. I thought all of his kicking options were pretty good yesterday. He got a try for himself from a little grubber through, set up the penalty try for Barnett through a nice kick. Leotoa would have scored as well. I thought he did well. So we got the points in the end. But there's just some massive breakdowns and behind those situations as to what they're happening. Now let's get into the detail of the Golden Point kind of scenario. And I think we do have to address the CHT situation from the sense that when it got tight again for him as a kicker, he did crumble under the pressure. Now, people are being soft on him, he's a 3rd, 4th string kicker. That's cool. I get that. Then for me, that's on the coach, who should know that this young man has mental struggles to be able to deal under pressure. It's almost identical, those misses that he had when it was in the Canberra game. As the game got tighter, the more he kind of seized up. So for me, they could have gone with Tuaupiki at fullback, who I think probably would have fit in well with Tamaiti and the players, and given the less pressure on CHT to kick these goals. You could tell he did well in the initial stages. I think he got most of his kicks, but the last 2 were quite close to the goal, or not. They weren't sideline kicks; they were decent kicks, and just felt a little tingle of pressure there, and you could just sense watching him that he just felt it. And so for me, that's more on the coach. He could have got someone like Tuaupiki in to kick. But if that's the situation with CHT, when the push comes to shove, we need to look at how we can get this guy some mental support to be better. If it's a mental coach, because he is seizing up in the big moments, or they need to take that weight off of him if that's not going to help him as a player. So that for me sits more on the coach than on him as an individual. It shows that the Canberra thing wasn't a one-off, and that getting quick kicking goals at Mount Smart after that wasn't the be-all and end-all. Yeah, sweet, you got a kick over, now it's gone. Those mental lapses are still there for him, and they will still be there until he can sort them out. So dependence on him in a pressure moment to do that, for me, the coach should have made that adjustment and put Tuopiki in if that was if that was what was deemed important. Um, then again, CHT's put his hand up. He has let the team down, but I put that more on coach. You know your flaws and your strengths and weaknesses of your players. Same in Golden Point. Pressure was on him to do it. Now, whether that's right or wrong doesn't matter. And in fact, doesn't matter like if it should have been someone else. Some people were saying, "Oh, I should have been Tamari. He should be doing that." Well, Isako was the natural drop kicker for. He's a winger. It doesn't matter. You just find the person that can do the job in those situations. It doesn't have to be a halfback, but it can be anyone that can do drop kicks. And if it wasn't sorted out and made clear to who that was going to be, then maybe they needed to bring a Tuopiki in to sort that out. But in those big moments, we again failed. And so that should go back into the review at the end of the year and address how do you get wins in tight games. Now, for me, it wasn't on Tamaiti. That's not his role to do drop kicks. I'm not expecting him to do it. And I thought he was clutch in the moment. I thought he got the try to get for Barnett to get the penalty try. I thought, in fact, he was, one of the best in terms of getting us in the game. And a lot of people will bring up SJ would have got that done. SJ's retired, guys. And we need to move on from that. And I don't think you'd see the same scoreline if SJ was on the field. Probably it might be worse because of defensive issues and those types of things. So when we're bringing up the SJ argument, Tamaiti choked, SJ wouldn't have done that. You got to counter in the other elements too. That Tamaiti kind of got us back into the game. We got to 32 points because of his fifth tackle options, setting things up. You can't just pick and choose when you want SJ to come and play. And you can't pick out the good things. Sean would have won that. You got to say, well, Sean probably would have leaked in some tries as well. And Sean has been playing predictable footy and been part of the reason why we've been very predictable. So we just got to accept the fact that some of our players aren't good in these situations. And maybe Metcalf will get that sorted, whether it's next year or now. I mean, for me, I would like to see the look of Metcalf and Tamaiti as an option, and then see how we go from there. But it really comes back to, for me, you got to be able to have someone who can close out if you're going to get into a tight game, drop kicks. But we still scored more points than them in tries, so that does fall on CHT. But again, goes back to Webby. If he knew that his player had those mental weaknesses or frailties, he needed to put some supports in place, whether that was Tuopiki. But apart from that, some of the positives, guys, was Dimitri Sefcool. I thought he was really, really good. Massive. He's put on some massive size since last year. And I was happy for him to get that try. I thought he was amazing. I'm looking forward to some of the young guys coming through next year. I think they will bring a lot of energy. I thought the likes of Catewell had a really good game. Done a lot in terms of defense. You could see like he was really pushing in hard with the defensive work. Got a try for himself. I thought he played really one of his better games. I thought Leatoa, until he kind of knocked the ball on and got knocked out by Kossi, he was starting to open things up. You saw that nice long break, short ball off to Maia, and it was almost like the try was on, and but he was starting to wreak some havoc in his own way. I thought Roger played a really good carrying game, a simple game, that he kind of, I think, played a lot more direct, and just kind of filled in that role there. One defensive lapse, I won't say he was perfect, but I thought he played a pretty good role as a covering centre. Egan, for me, has been a little bit hit and miss. I think there's should be some questionings around him moving forward. I felt that his energy overall this season has been really flat. I feel as though at times at dummy half the service is slow, it's laboured, and I kind of got that feeling today a little bit. I'm actually an advocate for Paul Roach to kind of come into the starting squad next year, and I think he'll be one to inject the hookings position. Will give us some, I think, some energy, some tempo. I'm just a bit worried with Egan at the moment. It just doesn't seem to be hitting the mark. And then also defensively and energy-wise, we need a bit more from that position. I think if you look at last year, the hooker role and how Egan was playing was so important in terms of creating some deception, creating some reactions from those A and B defenders. And if you can't get that push or that suction in, for lack of a better word, from the middle, then you're not going to get the openings that you want on the outside. And I think that's been documented, I think, a little bit this year. And I'm just calling for someone like a Paul Roach who's got a bit more energy, who will ask a few more questions, not so much with his deception, but with his physicality, that it may bring in some more openings for our outsides next year and for our overall attack. But yeah, I think that's something we need to look at a bit. I thought AFB in particular, his first shift was really, really solid. You could see he was really trying to drive the boys. He was trying to bring energy, a lot of shifts out onto the edge. He was all over the park. I thought he was quite good. Barnett as well, a few lapses in terms of that drop ball. Morata was okay for me. Dill Walker was pretty good until the sin bin. A few soft ones from our boys, head highs. Even the ref I thought was a little bit soft on the head highs. But it is what it is. And interchange, Tom Ale was okay. We didn't use Freddie last week. I think we could have gone with Freddie in the last 20 while the game was kind of tight, to secure things up a little bit defensively. Again, Webby didn't activate him. So that it is what it is. But I thought he could have come on and done something. And then I think Jazz had an okay shift as well. So look, it felt like a game actually that we'd probably lose by 13 plus, but it ended up being that we were in the fight and just couldn't ice it. I thought Max Plath for them was pretty good. I thought their halves, Nikodima, again, playing some right good options. Katoa, really solid kicking game as well. And then I thought, not too sure who else they had, but forwards okay, and back rowers, but they're outside backs. Isako, Avarillo, Farnsworth, and Bostock, I think, explosive, really explosive, and kind of that speed on the field is something that's been a separator for a lot of teams, especially against us, who do seem like a slower outside back team. Yeah, surprised we kind of stuck in there. We found a way to get into the game, and we had the momentum. Missed a few, conversions, and then the management of Golden Point just didn't work out. But I think it's time for me to just get a little look in at some of the new guys, the younger guys. Would love to see a Paul Roach come up, get an opportunity. I'd love to see hopefully Leka get some minutes as well. I thought Dimitri deserves another shot, another crack, with maybe a little bit bigger of a role. I know he only played 10 minutes, but need to see him under a bit of duress and what he has. And a game against, I think it's Manly coming up. That's a tough one. Not a game I've written that game off anyway. No matter who you have in that team, Manly at 4 points is a tough place to win. But you might want to just get a look at some of the younger guys and see what they have. But yeah, just the story of the season. Like I see, going back to that headline, it just sums up where we have been. But I give credit to the guys for getting themselves in that position. Just a shame they couldn't close the deal out for a Dolphins team that looked like we had them. But at the same time, we got to be better. But anyway, that's my thoughts, guys. Overall thoughts on how we're going, how we're tracking. Please hit that like and subscribe. Like I said, I won't be in tonight or tomorrow night. Ash will be with you on the live stream. Please jump on that as well and support our channel. And we appreciate you guys as always. Stay safe and up the was. Peace.